yeah, everybody wants to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, yeah, that Twits is what owned by
Amazon.
Amazon or
Oh,
Google.
really?
It's Amazon. Amazon built it. I
That's
think
right, because you were talking about the reward program from Amazon. You get some benefits on Twits from it.
Hmm.
Time.
Hmm. I
So
had no idea. It's a new frontier for me.
roll in, keep going. You guys are good. Looks good too.
okay. Now hi, this is Clint. My second week of this broadcast. It's Artists of the Resistance. This week we are talking to Jesse, and I am going to Duquette. Duquette?
Duquette.
Duquette. See,
Yeah.
it's just as bad as my last name. I've got destroyed my whole life. I can imagine, yeah, what they used to say to you as a kid.
Sure.
So. But Jesse is the mind, hand, and drawing behind the Daily Dawn, a graphics spot on Instagram that currently only has 133,000 followers. I'd be I'm still trying to get my first 1,000, but no, you must have hit somebody, you made a connection with a hell of a lot of people with your stuff. Why did you react to his presidency starting your ongoing project? What was the light bulb?
Well, throughout the campaign season, I would periodically do a political drawing here and there. I was always, not with a ton of regularity, but maybe a couple times a week, drawing something and posting it on social media.
Mhm.
The social media pretty much only existed to put my drawings out and records I would buy. So it certainly would draw stuff throughout the presidency, but I think like a lot of people, it was such a slow moving accident that, at least for me, I felt kind of not numb to it, but it just felt like a surreal experience. And unfortunately, like a lot of people, I think I underestimated a little bit where it would end up.
And we thought pretty bad too. I mean,
yeah.
No, I remember that the night after the election, because I went to bed, I knew he was going to win. And I said, hell, in California, I'm just going to go to bed. But yeah, the next morning, it was worse than any hangover I'd ever had. And it probably took me 2 or 3 months really before I did anything new. I mean, I had some old work to take care of, but yeah, I just, no.
Yeah. That was my reaction was exactly the same. As soon as that happened, I sort of disassociated a little bit from social media for a while, mostly because it was depressing, but also anyone who was on it, it was just was either depressed and angry, gloating. It was a hellscape I wanted to not be around. But it wasn't until the first press conference with Sean Spicer, where he told that kind of weird, unnecessary lie about the crowd size. And for whatever reason, I think it was because it was the first glimpse of what would pass for like a normal day in this administration. And here they were just right out the gate, lying about something that was not only, provably a lie, but just so low on the totem pole of what is worthy of lying about. So immediately my thought was, well, what does day 5 of lying look like? What is, day 100? And this is where the starting point is, where does it go? So, I that was that moment. But to be honest, when I drew that drawing, that first one, and I kind of put this caption to it, like, I'm going to do this every single day, it wasn't really serious. I mean, I think I honestly felt I would go like a week or two and then move on to something else.
Yeah, I've tried to do not nearly, but yeah, there was a new thing on Instagram that I did, that I'm going to post a photo every day of some collection or some thing that I've done in my studio, and it lasts a week maybe. I mean, I still do it at times, but yeah, I mean, that's got to be, that's my first thought was, hell, that's got to be just, after a while it becomes a job. It doesn't be, is it still fun, or do you feel like you have to do because you've got this 133,000 people waiting for your next drawing?
I think because my approach has been the same from day one till now, where I don't try to have like any extraneous noise filter into what I'm doing. The process is pretty static. I pay attention to what's happening through the news throughout the day, and then I tend to start drawing at night for the few hours before I go to bed. Put a picture up on social media, and that's it. So I mean, I don't let, I guess, that kind of outside force compel me to do it. I think if I got to a place where it was too much, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's definitely become in some ways almost like a test of endurance in a way, because it's just gone on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, the question gets asked a lot, like, oh, how do you do it every day? But I mean, and it feels maybe like a sort of a cheap toss-off reply, but I mean, the reality is this administration makes it abundantly easy to do specifically, I think, a cartoon kind of diary. I mean, what other president has encouraged people to inject bleach or suggested windmills give you cancer? I mean, it almost defies satire. So, I think the material is never ending. So it makes it easy. I think if I was doing a daily documentation of nearly anything else, I would have probably bailed a long time ago. But I don't know. I mean, there's always something to be righteously upset about on one hand, and then again, just the material lends itself, I think, specifically to cartoons. So it's
Oh yeah, I mean, I had, right after he got in, my first creative thing, I started working with a guy doing laser engraving on my found objects. And then Trump, again, he's just, a spoiled 5-year-old. And yeah, and his stuff is so outrageous. I mean, Biden's not going to, all he has to do is play Trump's words the whole time. And I mean, it's just, so I started doing all his stuff with laser engraving onto toys. Like I have a whole series of play school puzzles. I know you got a couple kids, the big ones that have like 5 or 6 pieces. And then I go through his tweets and match a tweet that goes with kind of the subject matter of the play school puzzle. And then I started with children's, the building blocks for letters. And then I did a series, or working on a series with him and his nicknames. And so I have on like the all the letters, it says Pocahontas, and then laser engraved over it, it says Elizabeth Warren. And just,
nice.
I mean, yeah, the stuff is almost too easy.
Yeah.
And again, even this late in the game, I'm still shocked almost daily by his arrogance and stupidity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the comedians are just getting tired of it. I mean, I remember the first couple months, they just had a heyday, and then they realized this isn't funny anymore, because he's living it, and and all we're doing is just repeating his words with a laugh track,
right,
in front of a live audience. And so I mean, yeah, I think that
yeah,
it's just,
I hear you.
now, are you going to be, what do you, hopefully you will be done in January. Do you think you'll miss it?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think I've gotten so used to the routine. I think I'll probably miss that to a degree because it's definitely, um, I think it's helped me uh, focus and, I guess, um, hone my drawing skills. It's, I've always spent hours a day drawing, but this has been like a heavy duty class. So I'll
Mhm.
miss that kind of, I think, rigor and focus. But I mean, that pales in comparison to the relief I'll feel.
Yeah.
But, I'm also, I'm maybe less optimistic than some. We've been burned before, and I think you marry a political party for which voter suppression is like a fetish to a party leader who has zero bottom. Like there's no depth to which he will not sink.
Yeah.
You put those two things together. I think all bets are off for the election.
I would have agreed 100% with you before the pandemic.
Yeah,
I think that, and then now the Black Lives Matter building on top of that,
yeah,
that we're seeing so much more traction on that than any of the other ones. And he's been so tone deaf.
yeah,
And so, you know, I just can't wait to see his rally Saturday night with 19,000
I know,
people in there without mask on,
I know.
and I just keep my fingers crossed. So the next time he's going to go get you know I don't know if he's going to go drink some bleach before he gets on stage just as a precaution. But I mean that's I'm just sorry. I honestly think, obviously I voted for Hillary. She wasn't my first choice, as Biden is definitely not my first choice either. But I think enough people were voting against Hillary, and Trump was this unknown. It was
Yeah,
this reality star that looked competent on TV. He was supposed to be this big billionaire, and people didn't realize how many bankruptcies and all that stuff, and he was just Teflon the first time, and now he's running on, it'll be 4 years of
yeah,
screw ups. And I
yep,
honestly believe that there are a lot of people who go, shit, I'm not going to be that stupid again. We
right,
cannot survive another 4 years of this asshole.
yeah,
Just honestly think that the suburban housewives and all those people that were, and glamored of him being a reality TV star and all that have just said shit.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true. He's got the baggage of his own administration now to run against, I guess, or with.
Yeah,
But
and he doesn't seem to be doing anything but just pandering to his base. And I think with everything, his base is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean,
mhm,
sure, there's always going to be some people out there that are, they're protesting against mask wearing and all that stupid. It's the anti-vaxxers or the anti-this that just jump on the bandwagon of the latest, you know, conspiracy but
yeah.
another thing, what else, what you say you draw a lot, what else, what other kinds of illustration work do you do to pay the bills?
Oh no, I mean, this drawing is a 100% a hobby.
Oh,
There's
okay.
zero money. It's just purely a labor of love,
Oh,
love and anguish. But no, I mean, and that's the thing. Before this, drawing was kind of just throwing anything at the wall. I started various projects, but it didn't really. There wasn't any sort of defining focus or
okay.
yeah, it was. This is definitely the thing that's had the most, well, certainly the most longevity, but the most sort of coherent
Okay.
focus on it.
So then what's well you're then what's the day job then?
I have just a normal old kind of manager job. I oversee a bunch of stores in the area.
Okay.
But one of the benefits is there's a good amount of travel with it. So that means there's a lot of time in hotel bars or hotel rooms to draw to the news or whatever. So
Right.
it does afford this sort of monastic approach still, despite the road business.
No, I mean, we came from, I mean, I have no formal art school education. My background, I have a BA in psychology and MS in adolescent counseling. And, in high school, I loved mechanical arts. The building where I went to high school was an amazing. So I spent every minute there and thought that I was going to be an architect, and then ended up going off to just liberal arts and then getting into psychology, basically just because my girlfriend at the time was in psychology, and I took a class so I could sound intelligent to her. So but art has always been there. I'd never been, I've never and I was in photography for years and years and years, because I never could get my hand to do what my eyes saw or what my mind thought. I just, I can do these really crude things when I'm working on a piece on, doing sizes and kind of playing around with that. But, growing up in the era that I did, I mean, I didn't, neither of my parents were really obviously not into contemporary art at the time, back in the 60s and 70s. But grew up in Missouri. I was only exposed to really kind of traditional figurative art. And because I couldn't do that, I just kind of went off into the industrial arts building and really spent most of my time in mechanical drawing and drafting, a thing of bygone eras now with CAD.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is it. The art, the photography always was a passion. It was something that I do, and even this now, I do this for me first. Yeah, I think if an artist doesn't do work for themselves first, then they're just in it for the money.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, I mean, I have never, well, I had a commission that went over 2 years. It actually was the first time that I did made money on a year, but still it wasn't doing my own work. It was doing, I someone came to it in the gallery that I work with, came to me with an idea, said they want this and this. I came up with an idea and they said great. And it was recycled, it was made out of bicycle rims that were interlocking. But yeah, it wasn't something that I thought of for myself, and then someone
Right.
else said, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
But so you don't you I can't believe people haven't asked for an original, or a lithograph, or the signed book, their first book, to
Um,
to
it
that.
happens. I mean, I don't really sell much of the original of these daily drawings. I'm holding on to them for the time being.
Sure.
I don't know why, just because I guess. But and I've done occasional commission work pretty sporadically. But I both because there's sort of a lack of time, as well as I think kind of similar to what you're talking about. I have a hard time um, following direction and kind of doing something for someone else. As much as I appreciate it and truly wish I had more of an aptitude for it, I just find it very difficult. And but it is. I mean, it's something that's completely my fault. I should open myself up to that more.
No, I understand. I go through periods that I just said, I don't. Maybe it's not because we neither of us went to art school. Maybe that we don't have that discipline. But now I know you said when we were talking beforehand about a second book that's supposed to be coming out. Now, is the first one still available somewhere for
Yeah.
for people to track down?
Yeah, Barnes and Noble has it. IndieBound, you can still find it online in most sort of general booksellers.
Okay.
Most bookstores are able to get it. Um, And then, yeah, if everything comes together, hoping to have the next one out in time for ahead of the election this fall.
Right.
Um,
Now,
and it'll be sort of like the second 2 years essentially.
so now on the first one, now how many illustrations are in that, or did you come up or someone said, hey, this would make a really cool book, or?
Yeah, as someone approached me about just kind of like a real basic, compiling, if not a best of, just a compilation of the first 2 years at that point. So there's about 170 some odd drawings from the first 2 years in that one. This will be ballpark the same, about the same length, about as many drawings or so covering the second 2 years.
Okay. But now it's done as far as you're concerned, or are you still planning on adding a couple more images that are more current?
Yeah, I'm working on adding some additional content now. That's one of the things that's kind of gotten away from me this week. But finding tying up the loose ends with that now. Most of the images are probably set, although if I can squeeze some in before things go to press, I might try to sneak in some newer ones if they're open to that. But for the most part, image-wise, I think it's pretty much set.
Yeah, like something from Saturday's rally, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So you said because I looked up and I didn't see one from today, so it pops up probably early morning mine. So now, do you have an idea for tonight?
No, like I haven't started it yet.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Well, I said there's lots of stuff happening today. All the leaks from Bolton's book and
Yep.
stuff like that. So I mean, I will wait till I'll chime in tomorrow morning after I get up and see what you've done. Now I guess now I put you on at least on the spot that you got to do something.
It'll be news to me too. I have no idea.
Well, good. I mean that's part of it. I mean you don't. I mean I've never come with a preconceived idea. I have but you found your part for the moment. You have quite a bit of audience, so they're putting you in the spotlight.
Yeah, I try not to think about that.
Wow.
I mean, it's good. I mean, that's great. I'm glad that a lot of people are finding something that resonates with them. But I guess I don't want to get into the trap of I guess changing my approach of what I'm doing to pander, or to do something that I think is purely generated out of just with the sole purpose of expecting an audience response and playing to that. So I try not to think too much about the public facing part of it too much. I just try to think about what I'm going to do, and if anything, I try to do it. And this will probably sound really selfish, but it's basically for an audience of one.
No, absolutely.
And that sounds really shitty, probably. But it's really
So
just.
now you've got a couple kids.
I have one son. Yep.
One son, and how old is he?
He is 8.
Does he have any does he know what this is all about?
Oh yeah, he's for better or for worse, he's grown up around it, so he knows all of the people. I for a lot of the time doing this, I think he kind of was viewing them like a rogues gallery of villains, but he knew them all: Steve Bannon, Steve Miller. Wanted to have deep conversations around who was the worst. But yeah, he knows them all. He's got which is a little bit troubling in hindsight, but he has a deep familiarity with all of them.
Hey guys.
Is he a critique? Does he critique you at all, or?
Hey guys, do you know if you could hear me, Clint?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to switch over and take a look at the chat because it's been blowing up a little bit?
Okay.
Because there are a couple questions in there for Jesse. One of which is
Yeah. Now, someone wants to know, what's your studio like?
Oh, it's my living room couch.
That's what I had a feeling that it wasn't anything, you know, kick,
I've been,
move the pillows around, turn off
I've
the
been,
TV, and
been super jealous of your background there. That's
well,
the environment I need.
well, and you can't, and you haven't seen anything. I mean, just because I'm a pack rat, for one thing, if I spun it 360 degrees, there is actually, I did a video on that's posted on my Instagram of different shelves in my studio and different things like that. It's very humorous that people that people turn in to look at a no sound other than just what the ambient sound is.
Yeah,
So it's a pad of paper and the corner and the couch.
that's it. Yeah, no
Okay.
desk.
I do. I've taken over. I promised when we moved into this house that my wife would have enough room in the garage for her car. We've been here almost 7 years now, and it hasn't been parked once. It's where all my dirty work, the table saw and the welding rig and all and all of that. I would love to be able to go somewhere and just draw, but I
Yeah, right. Yeah.
so so what else is important to know about Jesse? There's got to be this, as you said, this is something that you know obviously now consumes a greater part of your life, but it sounds to me that you haven't gotten affected by the hype of it.
No, I mean it's I, I don't know if it's because of my age or something, but I don't know. Social media is to me it's one of those things where if I were to delete my Instagram account tomorrow, it evaporates, it goes away, right? So I don't know. I to me it's really it never ceases to shock me that there's that many people that are paying attention to it. But again, I try not to make that like I don't want it to be, I don't want to turn it into something where again, I'm creating work purely to serve as a mirror for the people who are watching, an echo chamber, just kind of regurgitating what I think people will like. Um, and I think it sometimes I've certainly done drawings where something about it will rub people the wrong way who otherwise may see eye to eye with me on everything else, and
Mhm.
that's fair. And I don't ever try to be, I guess, purposely antagonistic, but I think sometimes I do have a tendency to not want to pull punches, I guess, with some of the drawings, and I could see very easily getting into a world where I would start doing that if I became too concerned with, well, how many followers might I lose because of this? And so I guess I don't know.
No, I understand. You care less. You can care less if they're 10 on it or 100 on it or what, the mass that's on there now. You don't look back, you don't look through, you don't scroll through and see who's looking at your thing now, or who's one of the many, because I can't believe that there aren't any really big name people that are out there watching you.
I've sometimes, a lot of times it's because people will message me or point to me like, oh my, so and so shared a drawing. I never, almost never see it or catch it. I find out about it after the fact. Someone tweets something or shares the drawing. But no, I don't really notice it, I guess, in real time until sometime after the fact. And I'm always, um, and it just kind of since this started, because it began to snowball somewhat quickly. I feel like I've been in this sort of, it's felt surreal since then. There's so much political art out there right now, and especially over these past 3, 4 years, there's been so much of it. And there's, which runs the gamut. There's really good stuff, and there's stuff that's just, maybe less so. So to be operating in that environment that is so heavily saturated with so much of this kind of messaging, to have any kind of attention through that, I think is just a real thing. And again, I think that's I'm glad that people are finding something from it. But yeah, I don't know. It's usually someone sending me a message being like, oh, look what so and so shared, and it's a crazy thing. I don't know where it comes from, but
So how long into the process before you realized, as you said, you said it started snowballing really quickly. How long did it take you to go, wow?
My bar was always really low, so I probably said wow on day 2. But um, yeah, there's been a lot of wow moments. I think throughout the whole experience, I think it's probably nothing but wow moments. I just my expectations have been low, so I'm always pleasantly surprised, I guess, throughout the whole thing.
No, I'm kind of surprised that you're just so laid back at this point. You have brothers and sisters or parents that are still alive, and
Yep, my parents are still alive. Yep, they only live about an hour away from me. No brothers and sisters, only child.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Oh, the producer voice is now on. It's meant to make you smile. There are a couple things in the chat that I just kind of wanted to go over real quick. Let's see, Jesse, there were a couple things. Let's see, what are your news sources of choice? And who has he inspired in the realm of political satire? There are some fun questions in the chat if you want to scroll up in the chat. Clint, if you want to look at the chat and scroll up, you can see that they're toward the top around the beginning. But yeah.
One thing what I think was one I want to do is what do you do with the haters? There's got to be a bunch of people on there just to give you shit.
Oh yeah, a healthy amount. Well, again, like everything else, and that happened really quickly too. So you can imagine just being, a normal person engaging or not engaging to whatever level on social media to all of a sudden, fairly quickly on a dime, being targeted by total strangers on the internet and in a semi-personal way. So that was a wow moment. Like, oh, this is something that actually happens. And I think I took the bait a lot longer than I should have in terms of responding or fighting back, just because I don't know. I mean, I hadn't learned my lesson yet, but I for the most part have learned to just kind of ignore it. I don't really I don't see it as much, so I'm not responding as much because even if the source is dubious, someone that it's again some 13-year-old kid with a private account on Instagram, if they say something totally dumb, whereas before I might have felt the need to really challenge them. It's just an unwinnable, irrelevant kind of
no, absolutely.
Absolutely. No one's on there to engage or debate in any kind of real way. So what's the point?
No, I take the haters as I'm doing my job right. Because and I think that's how I suspect that that's how you do is if everybody liked it, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people have said that as a way to encourage me, and I think that's I know what that means. I think that's a good thing. It's certainly when your emotions take over in the minute, it's hard to see that. But for a long time now, it's been less aggravating, less angering, and it's more just really disappointing, especially because at least the ones that I see, it's a lot of like young kids, and a lot of them are just shit posting and bomb throwing and stuff. But it is a bummer when you see, so many, young kids already in this toxic headspace. But hey, it's the internet, like it's just that world,
So no one's picked a fight with your son at school or something about with this?
No, nothing like that. Very few escalated threats. I've had a few people, go so far as to throw out the "I know where you live" kind of threatening stuff, but most of it's posturing,
Yeah.
thankfully.
On the other side, people have been saying that they do love your Instagram posts, as well as that they're, let's see, tell Jesse his followers love him and to keep going. There you go.
Cool. So yeah. No, and I think after he loses in the fall, he's not going to go away silent. I mean, I think you'll have material till the day either one of you dies.
Yeah, and knowing his luck, I'll probably go before him. I swear to God. I've never. I mean, how many people around this person have tested positive for coronavirus? When the hell? Like, how does this happen? They need to study this guy, because I mean, he has dodged more bullets than anyone. I don't get it. He's a marvel of modern medicine. I don't even know what it is, but man.
Well, I have a feeling that off camera, everybody but him has a mask on, and I bet you if you walked into the West Wing, all the peons aren't brave like him. I bet.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
No, I can. Yeah, maybe he'll test positive next week.
Positively negative.
After his rally this weekend. So
yeah, right, exactly.
We can only hope, but
fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah, but so any other? I mean, you've always drawn. Did you have a favorite subject matter that you played around with before this became?
Not really. Well, my drawings up until now were extremely sporadic. For a long stretch of time, the only drawings I did at all were for a band I was in for a while. I did our flyers and our an album cover, but
Okay.
it was never really. It was very, very casual. It still is very much a hobby, but on even a much more tenuous end beforehand. But a couple of things that I've started and I'm kind of trying to find a way back to it are almost more like in a children's book vein, because that was my more initial interest with drawing, was more children's book, I guess, oriented. So kind of trying to diversify and stuff like that. That's where my head goes now.
No, I could see that. I mean, all three of mine are 21 and up, but I saw every child's book, particularly for my daughter, because she's younger. She had a bigger library than probably me, and there's beautiful illustrations. I mean, yeah, I can't believe that you couldn't come up. I think you could probably even come up with the words.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I said earlier about not being good at taking direction is, I think the only way I could do it is if I was doing it all.
Okay.
I would never qualify myself as a control freak at all, except when it comes to drawing. I think again, I don't think I work well in a committee sort of environment. It's a dictatorship. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to drawing Trump. We have that simpatico connection, I guess.
So you're not looking for a dealer to hook you up with the gallery scene in New York?
I don't know. I have had a few drawings and a few, we did a small gallery thing in New York the end of last year. But I think it's the same kind of hesitancy that I have around merchandising or marketing, where I struggle to see why people would want to go be confronted with hundreds of drawings of Trump. That's my own bag, but that's, I think, initially I just feel like, oh, that's what a bummer of a gallery experience that would be. But no, I mean, I'm all for that. I would be more than happy to.
No, I don't. I mean, if you have a book, you've got a show. That's the hook now to, if you want, with the new book is send send that out. Even with all the self-publishers, I've done a little couple catalogs and things like that of my own work, and send it out. I think you need a manager.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it could even be your wife, but I don't know if that would be crossing some line with you. But
no, she'd probably be good at it. I think she'd probably be really good at it.
I don't want to burst your bubble of innocence or whatever, but 113,000 Instagram followers. If 1.001% showed up at a gallery, it'd be sold out. It would be packed. I think you're doing yourself a disservice, honestly, and I honestly don't think, because you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to be sold. You're not doing it to please anybody else. And people will see that. And if they didn't understand that already with your following, I think you're really doing your craft a disservice by not spreading it as far and as wide as you humanly can.
Yeah, it's not for, it's not that I'm actively opposed to it. It's just that I feel like this is, the marketing and certainly self-marketing, all of that is such a foreign world to me. And to me, it's, again, this is, like I said, from day one, the approach has been the same. Take a picture, put it on Instagram. That's it. That's the end of it. But yeah, no, it's not that I'm actively opposed to spreading the word or getting the work out there. And certainly when different things have come up opportunity-wise, for the most part, I've green-lighted it. If someone wanted to take a drawing and make a billboard out of it on a street in San Francisco, sure, go for it. That's all fine.
I can't believe your publisher wouldn't want that, particularly with when the second book comes out, of having a gallery show. That would be, having a show at the Democratic, in some gallery, and I forget where the Democratic convention is. It'd be great to have a gallery show in Florida where Trump's giving his inaugural, his acceptance address. That would be, that would be amazing. I think, I think there's so many possibilities that I would seriously doubt that you're still doing your day job in a year. unless you wanted to do it.
I guess I gotta find that manager.
You do. I mean, well, you could. I'll tell you how you could start. At least you could join Artists of the Resistance, please. Upload whatever it's. I think there's 10 images or whatever, and start small. I mean, you started on Instagram and you blew that away, and I think you could. I would be honored to have your pick of work on that, because that's exactly what you have this voice, you have this following, but it needs to get wider. There's lots of people like us toiling away, and not making our voices heard as loud as they could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm going to bug you, and I'm going to have Katie bug you until you come on, because I think that, again, you'll agree. Yeah. Now that I've asked you, but I guess you just need more people asking.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I don't really say no a lot. I mean, things have come up. I mostly out of curiosity, and also just because it's something I haven't ever been a part of before. How could I say no? So
yeah. No, I mean it's a cool thing. Well, it's almost time. I mean, we've been talking for 47 minutes, which has gone by way too quick. I am so happy. I mean, I honestly, before Katie told me about you, I really wasn't familiar with your Instagram. I am now. And the 4 or 5 people who tuned in tonight are that weren't anybody that wasn't your follower before will definitely be your follower now. And any parting words?
Oh, go vote. Bring a friend or 5 and go vote. Do it.
I will. I would drive people on my own dime to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna volunteer in some way for Biden. I don't think he really doesn't need it in California, but
right.
No, this is life or death for the country.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So. Well, this will be archived on I have a video channel on YouTube called Mind Prison, and I believe Katie is going to archive all of these on there, and probably will you be able to get a copy yourself, obviously. And I really appreciate you spending time with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else you do?
What's that?
No, I'm talking to
the mystery voice.
The mystery voice.
The disembodied voice.
Ooh.
So anything you want us to say or cover before we go?
Let's give one quick second before we disconnect to see if any of the listeners have any last minute questions. A lot of people want you to be yourself. They love that you are yourself that way. I think you covered, maybe Jesse, did you cover who really inspires you?
Oh, that's a good question. Boy, I that's a tough one. I don't really look at art right now to get inspired, because I don't want to have it seep into the work too much. But I do get inspired by non-visual artists, and I find that really helps inform my drawing. So music, certain people, especially right now, specifically certain people who are really using their voice, I think, in an incredibly powerful way, more like activists. So activists and music, that to me is what's really inspiring right now.
You know you can't just leave it like that. People are going to be like, what artists? you
Uh, well,
like bait them. You're like, okay, that's it. Later.
well, for
For music,
music,
yeah, yeah.
music would be well, I listen to a lot of music from Africa and Japan in the 70s. So there's Keith Malevahu, Amanaz. I mean, I kind of listen to them with no small amount of obsession. And there's just something about the music that I find helpful, I guess, with drawing. Um, and I think part of it is because, at least specifically with some of those artists coming from Zambia, it all came out of a revolution that had happened in Zambia, in which the first president of Zambia was a musician himself. And one of his first decrees was that all the music that they were playing on the radio had to be Zambian artists. So you had all these like teenagers who loved Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. Like, what do we do now? We can't. And so they had to make bands. So there was this great, unbelievably creative and fairly prolific glut of bands that occurred in this time frame, in this kind of both having to do it because they had to, and then with all this political upheaval happening. So I found that, to me, is really always very inspiring. Michelle Silverstein, always inspiring.
Nice.
So you said you were in a band before. What kind of music did you play? And what instrument?
Garage rock, I guess, is what I would kind of call it. I played guitar and sang.
Okay. Any chance to get you back up on the stage anytime soon with a new band?
Boy, I mean, I loved, that's my world, was that just music for a long, long time, and it's been a long time since I picked up a guitar. I'll never say never, probably. I mean, I'm if I'm not drawing, I'm obsessively listening to music. So it would be one thing or the other, I guess. Maybe I'll trade in the Trump stuff for another band when this is over.
Okay.
That's a good one. All right, guys. So
Just I want to give a one little last shout out for Green Rex, where is showing us today. They have a couple other really cool offbeat kind of programs that they stream also. So take a look at some of their other stuff. And I think that's it.
okay.
Good, Julian?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'm gonna raid a channel so you guys can have some quiet dance music. Clint, Jesse, hold on a second, and I'll just be with you guys. Just gonna say goodbye to everyone, and all right, we're gonna go raid Jesse UTV. She's fun. She does a lot of dance. It'll be a party. You'll enjoy it. Okay. So they should be rating right now.